This is the very, very best. I introduce the very, very next. Big deal, you know this is the big league. Unsanga mu mihanda ya Kigali, mega big fish. Word on the street turakaze. Habari gani, mumeze mute. Dutse nshima Imana kuva aho ndamukiye. If you want the long form, come close murabure. Wait, what?
The long form.
What did he say?
The long form.
What?
The long form.
The long form.
Now, before we begin today's conversation, I'd like us to examine the scope of the challenge. In Rwanda, right now, something is happening quietly, and it's not getting the attention I believe it deserves. Boys are falling behind. The numbers tell the story. In primary and secondary schools, girls are finishing at higher rates than boys, and the gap is growing. Over 60% of all drug-related arrests in Rwanda involve young men. More than 85% of prisoners are male. And when it comes to mental health, most boys never learn to talk about sadness, failure, or fear. They turn to silence, and sometimes things happen that are much, much worse. Boys, though, are not broken. They are not the enemy. But right now, they are being left behind. So tonight, we ask a hard question. Is Rwanda failing its boys? And if the answer is yes, what will we do about it? Now, to talk about this issue, I'd like to introduce my guest, Alain Numa. Now, if you don't know who Alain Numa is, he's a former liberation fighter, and now he's a corporate social responsibility manager at MTN Rwanda. Alain is also the founder of Boys to Men, an initiative that aims to shape the next generation of young men. Since he started the initiative 2 years ago, he's run 3 week-long camps for boys between the ages of 12 to 16 to help them address their issues and develop life skills. So far, over 215 families have been impacted positively. In this conversation that I will have with him, I want to discuss Rwandan masculinity, what positive masculinity looks like, what it should look like, why we are getting it wrong when it comes to raising well-adjusted men, and attempt to answer this question: how can we fix the boy problem? So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the long form. Alain, I hope you're comfortable.
Yes. Thank you so much, Sanny.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you.
Good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here.
Can everyone hear us? Mic a bit higher. Oh, let me help you.
E-cash and e-microphone will work to this night. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here, and especially in front of my chairman, Bundu. Thank you so much. And my lovely wife who came with me. Thank you so much, Sanny.
It's a huge pleasure. Mm-hmm. And guys, just so you know, this is not just going to be a conversation between me and him. We're going to have a conversation, and then, because this is not an issue that he's just facing or we're just going to talk about, I want everyone's input. So we're going to have a couple of questions from him, and then I want the conversation to be not just one-sided. I want us to not just have conversations between the both of us and people and ourselves, but even among each other. Now, Alain, you were born in 1973 in Zaire to a Belgian father and a Rwandan mother. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, you've never met your father.
Till today.
How's this affected the way you move through life as a man?
Well, I don't know where to start from, but the long story started when, yes, I was born from that Belgian father and Rwandese mother. By when I was 5 years, we moved to Burundi, where the grandparents were living as refugees. So I started growing from there. So a little boy Mzungu in the community, and life wasn't easy to everyone as a refugee. So I started growing from there with a lot of difficulties. My life was, I can describe it as a broken pieces, because now being a refugee, that was one for the grandparents, but plus me with mixed colors was, where do you belong from? So these were some of the experience I got even in school. This was Burundi. When in school, at a certain time, teachers could ask kids, where are you from? Are you a Burundian? No. A Congolese? Zairwa? Yes. Rwandese? Yes. And what about you? So I was also confused by then. I said, who am I? My skin is a Mzungu. Parents, so-called parents. My mother was still alive. She passed away in 86. So that period, that experience wasn't good. So being me as me, growing in that community. To cut this story short, I call it lack of identity. I didn't have a specific identity. Even at a certain point, I had to call one of the Burundian rich men, businessmen, my father. I didn't know him.
Okay.
But the name was very known in the whole country. So I said, my father, this is my father.
Was he white?
I never met him. I don't know who he is. I heard about the story. This man is this, he has this is belong to him. And I decided, this is my father. So he was a soldier, a colonel, a pilot of an helicopter. Was actually, wow. So I'm going to, okay, that was it. So I grew up being a son of that man. So being a pilot, he used to move out of Burundi. So it was confirming, oh yes, so maybe this is one of the sons that he brought from Europe. So that's why he's here. So it was confirming, and I have a peaceful life by then.
But
very complicated.
Yeah. No, it's but because a lot of times, because I'm also raising boys, and I see that responsibility as a father to be able to teach them how to become men. So who's teaching you to be a man other than your imaginary dad?
I can't tell how. Yes, I got that education and culture teaching by my grandparents, but it wasn't enough, because my situation, I was feeling I'm not belonging to that community. So how it became, how I had to learn the men who I am today. At 18 years, I had to join Inhotanyi, where today I confirm that I got identity from Inhotanyi. We used to say Inhotanyi n'ubuzima, now Inhotanyi n'ubuzima, but Inhotanyi, for me, they gave me an identity.
So before, are you saying that before 1990, you were a man without an identity?
I was a man?
Without identity, is that what you're saying?
Yes.
But you knew your, so why choose, because 1990, 1991, things were not easy. Why would you, where did you learn about being Rwandan? How did that, were you just being, when you're an 18-year-old, you don't think about death like that. It seems fun. It's like a movie. Were you know, some people were driven by patriotism, right? The identity, the Rwandan identity. You seem like a person who was trying to figure out what that identity was. Why then choose the hardest of paths? Why choose the path that could have led you to death?
That's the part of patriotism now from parents, because we grew up. They used to say, "Muri Abanyarwanda, make sure you keep your values as Rwandans. Make sure you don't be like others. Others, you understand who I'm talking about." And
actually, I don't. Who are the others?
Okay, you see, like Congolese, we are totally different. We're totally different, and even in Rwanda's, in Burundians, the culture seems not too different. But again, the specific values that Rwandans had, because although they spent 30 years in exile, but they had hope the following day that we could go back home. So that patriotism came down even to kids, but not all kids now captured that one. So the way I choose to join that hard part, for me, it was one, to get out of the situation I was in as being a lack of no identity. So I had to choose to join others for the good cause. So joining others, and by the permission of grandparents, asking them, "Can I go?"
So you're not one of those ones who fled in the night.
No, yeah, it was night. It was night, but again, with the permission, I had to ask, "Can I go?" Even today, I just imagining that level of patriotism where parents can let children go. And where to go is that the hardest part you are talking about. So that's how I decided to join that part.
Now, obviously, you survived, and that's why we're here.
I thank God.
Those 4 years in the mountains, in the valleys, in the swamps, what did they teach you? Being part of the young men and women of the RPA, what did it teach you about positive masculinity?
First of all, one was being Rwandans, you have stood up because of the change. We are here to change something, which is what the ideology that was there by then. So me being part of this, the most discipline I got from my leaders was, being a Rwandan, you need to have these values. One, discipline. Second, make sure we are changing the situation that was in Rwanda by then. So I had to follow those rules, and the discipline, that's where discipline, I think that's the source of the discipline.
So I'm hearing discipline.
Yeah.
What other positive values? Male values.
Male values was to be the man behind the change. That you are able and you can do this, you can change. It wasn't easy. The situation, war is war. War is war. You go 2, you come back 1, or you even perish, all of you. But having this emphasize that you can change this, you can drive this change, this was building a confidence in everyone, which is my foundation today.
Yeah. I'm hearing discipline and a sense of ownership.
Yeah.
And a sense of responsibility to yourself and your country. So those are the kind of tenets I'm hearing.
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things that young men and women who participated in the liberation war was having to deal with the aftermath of war and what they experienced, what they saw. How did you deal with what you saw in a healthy way? Right? Because especially within the context of being Rwandan, where there's a saying that the tears of a man remain unshed. My Kinyarwanda is not that great. Someone can, maybe you can.
amarira
amarira
y'umugabo
y'umugabo.
atemba ajya mu
There you go. So how did you, because there's, the reason I'm saying this, because there are people that I knew who, because of what they saw, they had to deal with it in a very unhealthy way.
Sure.
We've lost a lot of uncles, brothers, cousins to alcoholism and other very negative behavior. But somehow you're still here and you're smiling and you're a member of society. How did you deal with what you saw, and how did you deal with that mental aspect of life beyond the war?
I can't say that I was a superman to overcome that situation, and we honor all those who left us.
Mm.
But again, I can't say there's something personally I did to make sure I'm following this this direction, because as you are saying, yes, there are two directions, and what you choose is where you go. Yes, what you saw was very bad. Even sometimes when you think about it, you bring back the images and you start recalling, why me? Why? How am I standing today, as you are saying, smiling, founding my family? How? What have I done? But I think the way I grow up with that harsh education from my grandparents helped me to be who I am today. How? Because we had that now on top of the education of that situation I got, that foundation, the education foundation I got from my grandparents, it was supported by my leaders during the war, where your leaders kept telling what you had even before. Uri umunyarwanda, you are here to fight for your country, so courage, move. So all these, I felt like I am responsible and I'm the one to take that ownership to be who I am. Be a Rwandan, keep those values, the few I knew by then. That's how I kept my line. Not that I was perfect. Yes, it was possible to divert and to go to another direction, but up to today, I thank God I kept that good direction, which is today. I'm not talking about those who diverted, who are still living in those bad situations today, but I don't know how. But again, it based on the foundation you got from the previous during your childhood with your parents.
So it wasn't because of therapy.
It wasn't that. No.
You did not find God, because some people, if they did not choose this path, they would end up being, they'd become barokole. Are you one of those ones?
I became a Moroccan later.
So maybe that's how you dealt with it as well.
I think that's why God kept me alive, so to have me as His servant. So I became a pastor, but this is 10 years ago. By then, I was not practicing anything.
So I might be wrong, but to kind of move it from you, it seems to me, I'm an observer of our society. I read, I talk to people, and I observe what's going on. And it seems to me, and women, please forgive me, I'm going to say a lot of Rwandan men, but it's not that I think that women are not important, but in my observations, here I'm going to talk about the gentleman. So in my observations, it seems to me that a lot of Rwandan men suffer from stuff like alcoholism, depression, trauma, and just an inability to maintain stable relationships in the home. That's my observation. And I'm curious, do you feel the same way? And if so, why do you think that is the case?
My own observation as well.
Right? So we're not experts, huh? Observation.
As a man, even at age 10, even below, in your family, a boy is a man. If a boy falls down, they say, hey, wake up. Whoa, yes. And he wakes up. Yes, I can. So as young boy, you grow up knowing that you know. You grow up knowing that, yes, you can. As a man, even in Rwanda, as I say, mugabo n'umutware w'urugo, even in the Bible, that's what he says. And you find you grow up having in mind, yes, you can, you are the man, knowing or not knowing, but you know that you know, even if you know that you don't know. So you find a man, even if you up to the age where you found your family, you're still there as the man who can
All
stand
knowing.
on his own, who can't learn from another man, who can't listen to another man. That's I know. And in Kinyarwanda, we know it's there. It's there. I know. There's nothing that you can teach me that I don't know. But at the end, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
So I just want to, just so that I get you to, so the things that I've mentioned, is that what you also observe?
Sure.
Because I had a few months ago, I had on this very podcast a Rwandan psychotherapist, and he was speaking about, the generational trauma that Rwandans have, and they manifest differently between the sexes. And he was talking about, men choosing, we have very high numbers of male suicides, alcoholism, antisocial behavior. So I was wondering if, what you'd seen in your practice as a pastor, how these things, whether those things were just academics or they were real life.
In this context, you see, alcohol, even us went through alcohol. But during our generation, we couldn't do it openly. We used to drink, but again, under the table, behind the curtains. You can't meet your dad or your mom or your parents with okay. That's one. You see, as kids, we used to play the wedding story. And we could even put on everything like this, a ceremony. You, your wife, you move, you do the wedding.
Who was your wife?
She's here. So that's what we used to do. Even now, it's happened. But the way it happened now, that's the case. Drinking, it's openly. My rights, plus social media. I know what I'm doing. I'm mature. I have right to do this. Now going to this wedding thing, for them, they don't joke now. They go straight to the real wedding. That's how we end up having, okay, let's stop from there. But what I get now is, yes, the difference is that one. And now, how it is increasing, right? Can I go?
Sure.
The way it is increasing is now that lack of connection with your parents.
So let me ask you about that connection. I believe that men raise men. Now, good men raise good men, and vice versa. Now, in your experience as a mentor, as well as, you're also a pastor. You do some pastoral work. It's very easy for us to, as you've said, these boys are becoming impossible. They're drinking. They're engaging in activities that you would say that are negative. So who's raising these boys, and why are we seeing the outcome, do you think, that we're seeing today?
That the disconnection part of it I was talking about.
Disconnection between who and who?
The parents, father, and boys. Because whenever you meet your dad, either he tells you that be a real man, and that's it. Or you don't meet because the dad is busy doing his work, he's at work, and you're at school. By the time he's coming back, you are sleeping. By the time he's in the weekend, he's going out, you are also going out now. So there is that disconnection. There is no time to meet, to sit down, which we used to have before.
But then I would like to challenge the dads.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, those are your kids.
Mm-hmm.
When you tell me that you do not have time to sit down with them, what are you doing?
That's the thing. Parents
are choosing.
Sorry, we lost that responsibility of ours. Can I give you my experience, my strategy I did, we used at home? I funded the government. I have 2 boys and 2 girls.
And are you the president?
Actually, no, I'm the chairman. I'm the top. But the MD, the prime minister, the wife, she's there. And the boys, our first daughter, she's not around. But the 2 boys, which I was focusing on mainly because I saw things coming. So I funded.
What did you see coming?
What is available? The drugs and drinking and this disconnection, and you go in that negative, you're losing these Rwandan values. You find your kids, okay, not only mine, even kids in general, you find they are on the street. Early morning when you are going to work, they are coming out from the nightclub, all this. So I saw that what is available in the town. So we funded the government. The government, prime minister, we have one in charge of security and logistics. Another one is infrastructure.
Those are your 2 boys. How old are they?
The second boy is 22. Another one is now 16. The reason of doing this, not those positions, I wanted, me and my wife, we wanted something that will keep us connected to these guys. Because beyond of being that minister, we need to sit down every month. When they are coming for money, to pick money from the prime minister, that they will be paying Irondo, Isuku, all these, and we sit down for evaluation. But in mind, it's not evaluation, it's not leadership per se, but it's to have them on board. So we created that friendship. I call them Bajama, the best friend. So tomorrow, make sure at 6 we sit down, evaluation, and we reward them. But the reward is to give them responsibility, to give them something to do. They make sure they are always home. So even if me personally, where I work for MTN, I used to travel a lot up country and spend like 1 week. But with that accountability, you are still connected. Even on phone, how is it? Yeah, Rihano. Imagine one of the goals one had as an infrastructure was to have that cash power. You see that the sound when the power is almost going disturbing. He said, "This is my goal. You will never hear this again." So they started having it as their own responsibilities, and they need to report to the big boss, the chairman. So that's how I did, and it worked. That's how my YouTube channel started. I say, and the way it started, it was during COVID. Kids, those boys, they were like, "Dad, they are always asking us how to do this. Can we start doing this on YouTube? I said, okay, let's do YouTube. And we started. So a certain period, we could get parents calling us, thank you so much. Now I funded now my government at home. Kids are there. They are in charge of, these clocks. They have been blocked a long time ago because of that. It's no longer working like for ages. But the boy in charge of this started now looking at everything, every single thing in the house. So that's how I believe some parents started getting connected to their boys.
By the way, just so that people can also find you on YouTube, what's your YouTube handle?
My YouTube handle is Numa Talk.
Numa Talk.
Numa Talk.
So please subscribe.
Yeah. We can advertise eCash. We have more than 20,000 subscribers. All right.
Now, let's talk about the work that you've done in Boys to Men.
Yeah.
In your yearly boys camp, what are the common threads that you're seeing in terms of what are the boys like? What are the things that you see just keep coming back? Because obviously the whole point of the camp is to teach positive masculinity within the Rwandan context.
True.
So obviously if someone needs to learn that thing, it's because they lack it. So I'm interested in what you've seen. What are they lacking exactly? And when you see parents handing over their boys to you, don't you sometimes think, these Rwandan parents, they're really giving me the responsibility of raising their children. Where are they?
Do you mind if I can just give you the background on how this started?
Sure.
One night, there's that Boys to Men coming in my head.
The song?
So, not really.
Oh.
So, I am like, I know Boys to Men. I know them. But Boys to Men is sticking in my head. And I tell my wife, I say, look at this. Now, I have this message in my head. Wake up and do something for the boys. And no offense, all issues that were coming in my face was one, yes, drug abuse. And now what is hitting our country as early pregnancies, in my image, I saw a lot of program talking to girls. Girls, make sure you obey. Girls, don't listen to those boys. And I realized that was my own observation. I realized that there were no one talking to boys that don't go there. So now that started coming in my head. Imagine I went up to wedding when I say, by the way, during the pre-wedding, we have bridal shower. I've never heard about groom shower. And that's how we end up being in a relationship after relationship, do the wedding after wedding. In your family, you start expecting the same thing you used to get from your mom, and you want to have the same from your wife. Yet you're waking up at the same time in the morning, you go to work, and you come back at the same time tonight, and you're expecting her to cook, to do. No. So I told her, what do you think about it? And she's a pastor. She told me, that's your calling. That's what God wants you
Amen.
to do. I said, no, I have my own life. And I ignored. Ignoring, I couldn't sleep anymore. Boys to Men stick. Imagine for the first edition, Boys to Men was coming to perform in that period in Rwanda. We started. Let's have this first edition. I spoke to my partner, Gasol Research Foundation. He's like, I have an international school. It's a boarding school. Whenever during holiday, you have my support. Bring them. So to bring who? Who am I bringing? Even if I collect all my friends to give me their son, it can't work. Because the image or what we are focusing on is kids, boys from 12 to 16 years. I was like, I said, let me release a registration link. I released this morning a registration link. It was full that night, 60 boys. So that gave
That's 2023.
that 2023. That gave me a confirmation. One, these parents, not all of them, they don't know Numa Alen, who is Numa Alen. So a parent who can decide to send his boys out of home for a period of a week
With a person they don't know.
I don't know. Say maybe it must be, there is an issue.
There's a crisis.
So I'm here. So that was a message I got. A revelation. Even me, I started learning. So I'm taking the boys. Where am I taking them? That's where now the theme or the main message from these boys to men is me personally to give back to my country. I got shaped by Rwanda. I got shaped by Inkotanyi. So I should do the same.
Yeah. Now,
so we have the full 60 boys.
mm-hmm.
Wake up in the morning. My plan was to charge during the press conference. I'm like, the voice is like, I said, man, no single coin. Make sure I do this on your own. I ask, what do you think? Let's move. So we covered the cost. It took the boys 60. So during the camp, I was also learning. But by learning, I could see now, day two, you see what kind of boys you have. And automatically, you know where they're coming from. I mean, the background, the education, or the values, where they're coming from, I could tell. Imagine another good thing I got was the mix. Kids from village and kids from international school here, that mix.
Which is interesting because sometimes when we have these conversations about boys, we think it's only an elite problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the diversity of your people shows that it's actually also an issue in the villages, even with the people who don't have as much money. They're still having issues with their boys.
Because at the beginning, we thought we are going to take them out of their gadget. But you find another kid from Charo, they don't know what is gadget.
So what is their problem?
Now their problem is now to shape them because the father is never there, he's never at home. But if this is what I got from the parents from the village, I said, at least I got another father who can stand on my behalf and take care of my kid for that 1 week. Maybe he will come back as a man. And that was the diversity. So the background or the feedback from parents is totally different.
But how do you turn a boy into a man in a week?
In a week, unfortunately, the plan wasn't that. Since that's the capacity we had, funding this, it's something, the way it is designed, we're supposed to have 2 weeks in the camp. They go back, they come back to the holidays or festive season now for another version to become a man in mind. But up to now, the third edition, we don't have means. We are still using our salary. We pick few, and we keep for the whole year to make sure at least that 1 week. But believe me, Sanny, in 1 week, you see the change.
So what exactly are you doing
during the camp?
During the camp,
first of all, the discipline is at the arrival. First of all, they don't know where they're going. They see they have traveled 30 minutes out of town. they see the houses, everything is good, but now the experience is instructors I have in the camp. Instructors that did Ingando, Itorero, they know what they are doing. They start shaping them from there. Here you don't talk anyhow. This is not your home. Make sure you're on the line. Make sure you talk when they ask you. A small part of military style. And yes, another experience at the beginning, that very night, is the food. Because I try to do day 1, 2, 3, they go totally local food. So now that's where you see kids from village, they're like, we left this at home. So we are still having this. And you find someone now from Nyarutarama, they say, what the hell is this? They gave me something white. What is white? And to
What
find
is that
out
white thing?
Kaunga. Because I create in parallel the group WhatsApp for parents, at least to update them on daily basis what is going on. So that's an example. Taking a picture of that kaunga, sending to the group, I say, whoever is having kid that will never, and you find a parent coming and that's my kid.
Who's never had kaunga?
There's nothing else you can give me. Say, did you send him to a restaurant? We have kaunga and that's it. Oh my God, he's going to die. They say, fine. And at the end, I send another picture that kaunga was no longer there. And the kid is like, so there's nothing else. What is nothing else? This is not a restaurant. 2, 3, 4 hours, you find him already in the kitchen. I say, please bring it the way it is. So that's one of the experience, local food that they never experienced. And the following morning, what do? We group them into sections, amasibo. Section that every day there's something they are doing. In cows, to cleaning the farm, to go in to clean their rooms, to make their beds, to clean their clothes. It's a good experience. A kid go with a white shirt, by the time he's going back home, he's khaki, but at least he had that experience of cleaning. So they are waking up very early morning at 5. They go for 1.5 kilometer, mchaka, not walk, run. And yeah, you understand the difference, the type of kids we have by then. That's the one. And then we have, during the day, we have a session. We always call mentors that at least they can share something tangible with these kids. Not only on entrepreneurship, even if they are doing entrepreneurship in their schools, but at least they need someone known. For example, last year, I brought the public figures that they know. So I bring Coach Gael from Kigali Universe. I say, so this is the guy. So telling them, sharing with them their testimonies, how he became a man, how he became rich. He's rich. I have money. Now I have money. You can have the same money. So that kind of mentors I bring during the camp to take them through. So what we teach them, mentors, we have one, Rwandan values, patriotism, Christian values, and then we go up to GBV. We go to these the use of social media, the good and bads, all these. This is in summary how the camp looked like.
Do those boys do? Because obviously, after a while, they start seeing you as parental figures. And what young boys will do once they see you as a role model or as a parent, they'll start talking to you. When they talk to you, what are they saying about their experience back home, how they relate to their parents, how they relate to their schools, how they relate to their friends?
First of all, before we close the camp, that day 3, I sit down with them, give them papers and pens. Please write to your parents. Tell them you're missing them. Give them the message from the camp. So they take time to write letters. So what I do, I collect all those letters and I go into my room. I start reading one by one. The reason of reading is one, because I want to know what they're expressing from their heart. You find one kid is like, Dad, I didn't know you hate me this much. Please come and pick me now. So once identifying those who are not happy means even the change can be very difficult. The following morning, those who are not happy, I appoint them as commanders of those sections. Because they know they lead by example, they can't go the same way. So those are the guys that by the time we close the camp, they're like, can you add few more days so we're still enjoying this? So that's how I start connecting with them. By the time I sit down with them, I share my own experience, not leaving any single part. Now I'm writing the book, which I think it will help few parents or not. I share my own experience, how I became me. And on top of that, season 2, I started doing the one-to-one. So one-to-one, I wanted to hear now from their heart, your situation. I request parents, whoever feels that he's comfortable, I can talk to his son, please let me know. I engage him one-to-one. So now, where the issue? You find parents, they know what is going on. Can you please talk to that boy? Yarananiye, he's in discipline, he's what? I said, if you as a dad, you can confirm this now, you're totally wrong. Indiscipline, how? He became indisciplined, where have you been? And I say, this is not pre-Iwawa. We are not taking kids that are almost going to Iwawa for the next. No, we want to shape. The theme, the motto of Boys to Men is shaping tomorrow's men today. So you find when you're talking to a boy, he tells you the disconnection between him and father. The father, why? He lives in China. Or raised by a single mom. And you find that they don't have time to them. Another very critical message I got from the one-to-one is no one tells them that they can. The same message I got during the bush.
So that's a positive affirmation.
Yes. So no one tells me that. They know me as just someone who is there. No one tells me that I'm able, I can do this. Do you have some savings? Yes. What are you doing? There's nothing. So what is your dream? I wanted to be a pilot, but my dad told me that I need to be an engineer. So you find that the support there's lack of support, telling the boy that yes, you can. The same yes, you can of when you are still a boy, it needs to come to the reality where now they tell you that yes, you can. And you can become this. So when I talk to them as me sharing with them this experience, I realize because after 2 months we do assessment, but assessment on phone call, asking parents, we share a form, tell us about this, where you feel like there is still a gap, can I engage him one-to-one, even if you're not going to the camp, but I pick him, we stay together in the weekend, and we talk as men to men. So trying to give them that power, they feel that, yes, the man I want to be, I'm starting. And we got positive feedback from parents. Thank you so much. Either my kids now can eat local food, my kids now wake up and can make his bed. He's always at home. He listens to us. We interact. And we are ready to support him. We got that we are wrong, not supporting his idea, his dreams, all this kind of positive feedback. So this is what I get from.
And hopefully you also talk to the parents and say, this is where you can improve.
Sure. Sure.
Because I think fundamentally putting the responsibility on the young men, the boys, is, you can't put that level of responsibility on them and kind of leave the parents wanting. As I promised all of you, this would not be just a conversation between the both of us. Maybe we also have someone who's big in the law, former Chief Justice. How are you doing, sir? Can someone give the microphone to? Sir, can you hear me?
I'm good, but I came to listen. I didn't come to talk.
Who else can help us understand what the risk, the overall, at the macro level, what the risk factors are of having unhealthy young men at a national level?
I think from what I heard, this is a very interesting discussion about especially the social and mental health of our young men. And of course, from my experience, as you say, if a child grows up in a kind of dysfunctional family, then there is more temptation towards criminality. If a child is not brought up knowing the values of his society, and not getting the advice from the parents that he needs, then of course there is a risk that he will end up in some bad company. He'll end up being attracted by different things, whether from social media or from his friends, and end up in a bad situation. So I'm glad that there is this program that the pastor is pursuing of a kind of reorienting young men, giving them the opportunity to learn about their values and how they can grow up to be responsible adults. Yeah, so
Thank you so much. There's also someone who wants to say something. Mzee Karimera.
Thank you, Sanny. And I would like to thank Mr. Numa for the good job he's doing for the country. And Sanny, when you introduced the topic, you mentioned about the school dropout, numbers of boys and men in correction facilities. And there are other huge numbers actually in the rehabilitation centers. And boys and men are good numbers, though the number of girls and women are also competing these days. But I have one question and one contribution to Mr. Numa. Because when you drop from school, the next level, you become a street kid. Then you start abusing drugs or alcohol, and you end up in rehabilitation centers. And this is maybe because of the broken families with conflict. And when you are looking for something from your family or from your parents and you don't get it, you get out of the family to look for it somewhere else. And this is actually what is Mr. Numa is doing now. It's very, very important for the nation. The country knows it's a big problem. When you look at the number of the boys and girls in rehabilitation centers, and it is increasing every day. Even parents give the bribe for the authorities to take their kids to the rehabilitation centers, which is not a solution. Instead, maybe I would encourage Mr. Numa not to work as a standalone, to work with the government actually, to look for the not funding, not more facilities, to look for the prevention. Gukumira niwo muti. Instead of, because the authorities, they go to Minister of Finance asking for more money. We need to build more rehabilitation centers. That's not going to be a solution for this country. We should work together. I'm telling Mr. Numa, who is already in that field, to look for the partners, to look for the, because there is good policies which can help to prevent the what you call the street kids. Anyway, Mr. Numa, I thank you very much from my experience from the RPA, and now you are doing this for the nation, and keep it up. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I want to hear the viewpoint of a young man. Are there any young men? Junior, you're still a young man. So, Junior, I want to ask a question. Now that you've decided to speak on behalf of young men, are we exaggerating? You know, one of the things that we love to do as Rwandans is to exaggerate. You know, everything's a crisis. Everything cheats, right? Are we over exaggerating what's happening because we're in a bubble? Or do you actually think it's actually as scary as we're all kind of saying?
First of all, thank you for this opportunity, and thank you to Sanny and Alain for such a very insightful conversation. I was joking with my colleague next to me that we're talking about this very same topic before we started. And to answer your question bluntly, I don't think we pay enough attention to the crisis of the young men. And the reason I put my hand up is because I've been following a trend that has been plaguing the West. And as we know, everything that plagues the West eventually gets to us, is a concept called incels. Incels is a trend among young men that have become disconnected to society, and some of the traits that comes with them is hostile sexism, misogynist, anti-feminism, a sense of entitlement, self-pity, self-loathing, and sometimes racism and other extreme tendencies.
So there are some people who don't know what an incel is. You've given us the symptoms. What's an incel? What does that mean?
An incel is a young man. It's a trend of young men, usually between the age of 13 to 21, that feel disconnected and feel rejected by society. And the incel movement has become a sense of a way of radicalizing these young men and justifying their pains because these young men feel they've been rejected by their families and society. And that is a direct result of young men not having a place where they can be heard and a place where they can be mentored, a place like what Alain is trying to do with Boys to Men. So to answer your question, Sanny, I think the crisis might not be very visible in Africa, but this conversation is being had among parents. And I'm very, very glad people like Alain have taken action. And Alain, by the way, I'd like to volunteer for your next movement.
Thank you so
Let me
much.
know what you need. I'll definitely want to join you in this movement because I do also have a big heart. But I also had a question, if you allow me. We've talked about, and you guys extensively shed a light on the crisis that is the young men in Rwanda and on the continent, and all the pitfalls of not being around these young men and helping them out. On behalf of young men here, I'm going to speak as a young father of a 4-year-old boy, and many men out here also are raising boys. Since Alain seems to have successfully raised a functioning member of society with his sons, what are the most practical tips you can share with us parents here to make sure that our sons do not contribute to the problem, but rather can contribute to the solution?
Alain?
Thank you so much. And thank you so much for the volunteering. I remember last time we spoke about this, and the tips, this is me. The tips is be available. That's one. Second, have them as your best and best friend, so that they can't, they will, but once they start thinking about best friend or to go and look for a friend, let them see you first. They will always go to their friend, but once they have the best friend from home, they will always feel like I want to be home. An example, this the new movie that may come out. I did once I took all of them and I realized that it was a very expensive. And so the next movie coming out, actually, that was Wakanda. I told them, I said, you know what, you just chill. We watch this movie at home. When it started being available, I told them, so let's be at home. Movie equals to popcorns. Movie means popcorns and Coca-Cola. So, okay, so what do we do? So I bring my projector, I connect to my laptop, one of the walls. Now you understand that the DG at home, she was not happy. So everyone turned the sofa the way you want, changing the way you want, and bring that whole Coca-Cola of 2,500 and popcorns of 1,000. So everyone get his popcorn. I said, actually, this is more interesting. We are watching movie together on our wall. So why are we always going out? So you start bringing them tactically, bringing them closer to you. So you play football even if you are not that good one, but at least you make sure you are everywhere with them. So whenever they think about friends, they can always go to their friend, but the best friend is at home. That's the only way. Otherwise, with social media, with those called best friend, to bring them back will be difficult. Thank you.
So I want to, again, Junior, we're literally the same age. I want a young person, a young man. Introduce yourself and
Thank you.
let's
Do I have
hear.
to stand up or I can?
No.
Thank you. My name is Brian Karasira. In a few words, I'm a big fan of the Long Form podcast.
Thank you.
That's how I find myself here. And I bet that Junior isn't younger than me. Yeah, because as per now, I'm not yet married. I'm in my 20s. So I'm just here to ask questions, though I'm not complaining. The fact that you ask questions shows that you have understood something. I want to ask Mr. Numa, when we talk about the problem of boys failing on their duties of upholding these values of masculinity, from my perspective, I think it's basically a problem of mindset, a mindset which is driven by a lot of things, culture, values. There are these short proverbs in Kinyarwanda that sometimes may support or justify their actions. I would like to give one example. There is this proverb in Kinyarwanda, we say, amafuti y'umugabo nibiki, nibwo buryo bwe. So you will always find young men when they are mistaken or they have committed crimes and all sorts of iniquities, trying to defend themselves, saying, yeah, amafuti y'umugabo nibwo buryo bwe. This was the only choice. When they go to drink alcohol, when they engage in irresponsible sexual behaviors. So I would like to ask you, would you point out different kinds of mentalities or myths that are completely misguiding young people, especially young men? Yeah, point them out and give us alternative how can I call it? Alternative ideas that can guide us so that we can continue upholding these values of responsible man. And another thing I would like to request you is that since you have undertaken this task of training young boys to become responsible men, there is a problem of young men who are in their 20s in the transition from adolescence to adulthood. So that is another class of young people that needs to be taken care of seriously, because if I have heard you well, you're focusing on people in the age of 16, they are still teenagers, but also, if possible, God willing, you can also think of dealing with these young men because they are at universities where they are living their private lives. They have left their best friends at home. They are now with their friends. So it shows the need of actually being around with them and trying to shape them into responsible young men. Thank you.
Alain.
Yo. As I started putting it is, a young boy grow up knowing that yes, you are the man. Na hunga no mugani waturutse amafuti y'umugabo. To know that even if he does those mafuti, he's still a man, and that's one of the rights. That's how I think, and I strongly believe, that's how even the country created the Itorero Ingando, so that a lot of people can go through those ones and they get the refresher on the culture and how a Rwandan man, woman, or how you need to live the Rwandan values. I think that's why one of the best thing we have now in the country is to have those Ingando, Itorero for all of us to refresh her. But again, as you are saying, one of the comments from parents' feedback was like, I say, you know what? We'll end up empower those boys even more or better than us. You should break and start taking us as parents, first of all, before taking the boys, so that at least we are on the same level. Because sometimes they come back and you find we have already a gap. They are already here. With you as a parent or as a father, you are not yet there. So what my suggestion is, yes, we have the background, those background. That's how we used to live. Amafuti umugabo, umugabo n'umugabo. You can come back late, or you even don't come back. No one will ask you why. Those were those years, but I don't think now. Another point is, thinking about the 2020s, someone else can do this, because a boy now of 18 years will box you in the camp. But as you are saying, you see now that was me, what I got as a revelation. Honorable Francis, we do work with the government. I inform them. I have support from Prof, NCDA. Now this year, Minister of Youth, they were like, I said, even if they are not yet ready, they are not yet youth, but at least we realize that there is also a gap. From 16 years to 18, that gap, where do they belong to? Who talks to them? Because they're already men. And let me say it's too late. If you're already in 18, to bring you back, because 18, that's where you're in a junction. You either take this road or this way. And once you take this bad direction, to bring you back, it will be difficult to a parent, not even parents, but even security organs. So that's the situation. It's there, but we need to talk about it. We need to stand up and talk about it. The issue is there. So it's everyone's role, right to stand up and address these issues.
But he also asked another question. He talked about negative Rwandan sayings that men use to justify their quote unquote mafuti. I see some older people, maybe who can Mzee, Faustin, is there, we know a lot of negative sayings that men will justify to become bad men. Are there any Rwandan sayings that create a good man, that we can use to celebrate good decision making, responsibility, soberness?
Thank you, Sanny. Maybe I'll just try to respond to what the direction in which the question is coming, but also add some other thoughts. But the saying of amafuti mugabo nibwo buryo bwe, the other sayings, something, but I don't remember it very well, about umugabo n'uryo twari akaryo no twabandi, something like that. But I think it's because of the way the society makeup was, and the world has changed and moved on. I think those days it was a way of glorifying men and why they are, who they are, the leaders of the family, the defenders of family and society. But I think we've moved on. But the others that here yes.
What does that mean?
Kubimfura, it can mean, I'm not an expert in Rwanda language, but infra is somebody who promotes noble causes, generous, noble, So people are happier when you pardon? Integrity. People are happy when you refer to them like that. So there are other words that even saying rumugabo, even for women. I think it's something that people are and I think those are even more than the ones that have negative meaning. But if you allow, my take is that from what I was hearing from Numa is that when he was telling us how he formed the government and giving responsibility to madam, children, I think children these days have a lot of young men, for that matter, even women for that matter, young girls. Things sometimes there's certain basics covered, and I think the things that excite them, the goals. If children are not, you give a small example of making their bed, something to wake up to. What are their goals? If you take your children to the farm or your workplace, and they see what you're doing. Unfortunately, Dr. Alice has left, but she was telling us simple things like her children seeing her and her husband working on a budget, how they'll spend the money and how it came in, to give them a sense of responsibility and knowing that things don't come easy. So when these kids, I think, don't have something exciting and a goal to aim for, I think they look for something else. And that's when you find the mind idle. And an idle mind is prone to be distracted to whatever that may not be right. So I'm thinking that we end up having a situation where we are doing more preventive methods of correcting things that have gone wrong because we've forgotten to avoid. We are doing curative rather than preventive. We are trying to cure something that's gone wrong, but all along it's been progressing. It doesn't come overnight. The same way they talk about education going wrong, it does not go wrong overnight, and you don't get it right overnight. It's a process. And I think it's important to know that it's a process. I don't know if you're conversant with Roe versus Wade and how in the US they were giving credit to this mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani, for preventing crime. And there was a big debate about how do you give him credit for controlling crime in New York when he was mayor. And the debate was that when he became mayor and you work backwards, the kids who were in their 20s at that time when he was mayor, that were the candidates for crime, for criminals, they were not there because that the ruling about abortion and all that had eliminated children that were coming to this world with parents who are not ready to look after them. And it's a process. And to realize that reduced crime takes so many years that we need to understand that Numa may do what he's doing. Many people can do what they're doing to cure the issue. But I think the parents ourselves need to be given guidance, advice, and to be talked to about how to prevent on a day-to-day basis.
Thank you.
In schools, in homes. I think I like what you're doing. I wish I could do what you're doing. But I think we need to also focus more on the parents, the peers, the caretakers, the schools, to work on this on a daily basis and make sure that we have shows that kids look up to, that give them excitement. That's why sports is important. It creates competition. You become competitive. You look forward to a game tomorrow. But an idle mind will look for something else that will take their attention from TikTok and Instagram and anything else.
Yeah, you're 100% right. There is, I invited some fellow podcasters from both the region, so from Uganda and from Rwanda. There are two young men in Rwanda who are extremely interesting. Is Joel here? Can you stand up? I can barely see you. How are you doing? He has one of the funniest podcasts. It's him and another young man.
It's my co-host Lantry. Unfortunately, he had a last-minute meeting, so he couldn't join us today. Right.
So you are obviously young men, and one of the things that you keep talking about is drinking. There was a episode that you were talking about. You're drinking all the time. All we do is drink. We drink. We go for weddings, we're drinking. We go to parties, we're drinking. We hang out with friends. Everything, it seems, revolves around drinking. Before you came back, you were living in Australia, which is a huge, right?
No, it was Japan. Zambia.
Right, there you go. And there was a different culture there. I would want to know if this topic that we had today, if as young men, right, you're in your 20s now.
Yes.
Do young men sit down, unfortunately, probably drinking again, but are you sitting down and saying and discussing this issue that, hey, what is happening with us?
It depends on the group of guys. Amongst my friends, we generally push each other to like go to the gym, try to make money, improve ourselves. But amongst other groups of men, it's they're still stuck in that age. I call it when you're between the ages of 18 to 25, whether you're a man or a woman, I think it's excusable to be doing, it's perfectly all right to be doing stupid things. But then when you reach a certain age, you have to grow up and go, I think it's time I grow up and do that. But some men are still 35 years old and going to the club every day, like they're 21 when they shouldn't be. They should have a family, be doing something meaningful. So it really depends on the group of men and where they come from and what their goals are, right? Because birds of a feather flock together.
So what changed your mind, right? So you're saying that, you had your time and then something, switched. What was that thing?
It was the same people, the same things, nothing new. It got to the point, like I think everyone has noticed here, like when you go out with your friends continuously, you start noticing everyone's dress code and you're like, I've seen every clothes that he has in his wardrobe, and you go like, what's the point of this? Don't get it twisted. I still do go out with my friends and drink and we have fun, but we find that it's fun when we do it like 2 or 3 times a month and we keep it to a minimum. For me, it was I just got tired of it. I wanted to achieve something of note with my life, something great. Not just be sitting around drinking with the same people, having the same old boring conversations from Monday to Friday.
Fantastic. Thank you. I'd like to there's someone from Uganda, a friend of mine. Stand up. He's from also an amazing podcast. Give him a mic. He can talk about his podcast. And then I'm going to ask you, is this issue that we're talking about, which is, I guess, the male emergency, is it something that you also see manifesting in Uganda?
Thank you, Sanny, and good evening, everyone. My name is Simon Kasiate. I indeed am a fellow podcaster like Sanny over there. I co-host a podcast aptly named Grab a Coffee, not a whiskey or beer, but Grab a Coffee. And I co-host it with my friend Raymond, who unfortunately is still on the way from the airport, perhaps to make it here in time. I also must make a disclaimer that I'm not a young man, as I may appear. I'm clocking into 50 very soon. Jean-Claude Gaga is over here. He can testify. I'm sure he's surprised to see me in the audience. I am a father of 5.
Ish?
Yes. I take these matters a bit seriously. And 3 of those 5 are young men. Their names may sound familiar to the names you call your children. My first boy is called Kian Kamanzi. The second one is Keith Karemera. And the third is Kai Kalisa. I am a firstborn of 5. And like I have said, here I am. You ask a very important question, and the discussion is incredible. And I must allay the fears in this room that this conversation and this problem, as you may want to put it, is not exclusive to Rwanda. Matter of fact, we have it back home. Matter of fact, some of us have lived it. Matter of fact, many of us are grappling with it. A matter of fact, it also remains in some cases a hushed up conversation in our society. Now, what brings about it, I'll just give you the Ugandan perspective. I will not go back into our history as Uganda, but I will just bring it closer to maybe the last 40 years, because that I have seen with my own eyes and experienced it. We've had some bit of relative peace across board. And so you've seen development take its course. You've seen working parents getting into the middle class. And for a moment, because of the busy schedules they have, not quite being present for their children across board. You can park that. But then secondly, you see At the beginning of the last 40 years, a wave of devastation caused by HIV and AIDS. So you begin to see young parents dying and leaving child-led families. You also pack that. The last 40 years also came in with not just a new government, but a new government program that was geared towards affirmative action for women, basing on the women rights movement. And so you saw a lot of concerted effort, both in government and in the private sector, going to sprucing the girl child, because for the longest time, the girl child was left behind in all facets of our development, from education, access to healthcare, and even just being seen and heard. But unfortunately, and I'll start with that effort seemed to have taken quite a bit of a buzz, and the boy child started taking the back seat because the society assumed the boy child was fine. And like Numa did say in his opening remarks, he's heard of bridal showers. Now we can even take it beyond that you have the auntie of a young girl preparing her to get married. I do not know whether here you have the equivalent of an uncle of a young man preparing him to get married. So many of us as young men get into this life without an operational manual. So you just dive right into it and start doing things by copy and paste. Now, depending on who you're looking at, that's what exactly you will face. Now, 40 years ago, you have either widows or child-headed families. So the widows, yes, it's not a dignified title, but it's a woman that has lost her husband and is raising children. So the children don't have a father figure. Today, you have the phenomena of single parents, many of whom are ladies, not because the fathers of their children have died. They are alive somewhere, but have absconded any form of personal responsibility towards their own children and their partners that they should be staying together as a family. What brings about that? That's a long conversation, could be here all night long. But what I can tell you is there has been, as a result of there not being enough concerted efforts to letting boys man up and take responsibility of their actions, of their lives. So many of them are pampered by their middle class parents who said, I walked 10 kilometers to go to school. So I think my children don't deserve to go through the dishonor of walking to school or living outside a non-gated community. So we start to spoil our children and allow them very little space for socialization, for them to actually do some manual work that in itself inculcates in them the spirit of work and responsibility. So you start having maids raising your boy child because you don't want your child to wash his underwear, to polish his shoes. You don't want him to walk to school. And as they grow into men, they begin to think that life is going to give them these things on a silver platter. So when they get into the employment world, working at MTN and other places, Airtel, they would expect that there would be that kind of chaperone somewhere who's going to say, hey, clean up your desk or anything. So they become dysfunctional. And when they marry these wonderful women for wives, they expect them to be that person that perhaps performs the role of their mothers, of clean. You know, you marry because you think it is the cheapest way to get your laundry done and your food warmed at wee hours of the night. So it eventually becomes a spiral effect. I will conclude my remarks by saying, how then is the situation today? Numa, you have a counterpart in Uganda trying to do a boys' mentorship.
Geoffrey?
You know him. I'm glad you know him. And he is trying to bring the values of a young man into the ethos of our society. Yes, Uganda is a bit different from you here. We have 54 ethnic groups. My wife and I cannot speak to each other in our local languages. I can understand Spanish a little easier than understand my wife's local language when she speaks it. We are all Ugandans. But the thread that joins us all together as Ugandans is that there are certain basic minimums in terms of ethos, ethics, and ways of life that govern us as an African society. So what Godfrey is doing is trying to say, whatever it is, we are not going to allow our children be raised on the ethos of those places that have brought onto us TikTok and other forms of social media. We're going to raise them with our traditional African values, which is respect for self, respect for elders, cleanliness, respect for fellow people, and take it to that level. So there is that concerted effort going in, and we are seeing some results coming. But it's going to be a long haul, as the gentleman over there said. It is going to take a long period of time. But also there's conversations going on at home that you're not going to correct. Unfortunately, it's going to be very hard for you, Numa, to correct a 16-year-old who has had a very bad foundation at home. And so parents are being encouraged and told you're not going to allow the television, the maids, and the schools parent your children. You have to be present and parent them from there. Otherwise, you will have a generation whose moral compass you cannot give. Very finally, now I also take it personally to myself. I was born, again, close 50 years ago in Kampala, to a middle-class parentage. I learned my local language when I was close to 12. No, I was actually at 13 as a teenager. Just my local language, meaning I was socialized in an environment where we spoke English. Yes, you heard that your parents spoke a certain local language that possibly resembles another neighbor, but that was not something that we picked up because we were occasioned to speak the unifying language, since we are many people speaking different languages. And my father made a deliberate choice. I remember making a choice to go to secondary school, to an urban secondary school somewhere in Kampala, where I would have continued with my life of being with my fellow, today you would call them Gen Zs, but then were privileged young children born from privileged families. And my father made a deliberate decision, said, no, you are going to a secondary school closer to our home, where you will begin to learn how people of your tribe conduct themselves outside the classroom. And so he shipped me off to a school called Ntare School in Barara. And I must say, Sanny, without a fear of contradiction, that the best 4 years of my life were spent in that school. I learned so many things. I learned the fact that, one, I picked my identity, learned the local language, because not knowing your local language in that society and Ntare School, you are frowned upon. You are looked at as someone that is so exotic and quite out of touch with the reality. But most importantly, I began to realize that the basin does not belong to me alone, that we have to share. So you take the sense of responsibility, not the sharing sometimes bordered on being stolen from. Because once you left your shirt there, someone else borrowed it, and the other borrowed it, and the other one took it. And if it's down to the 10th person, you will never find it. And you're also doing the same, someone's trousers, someone's shoes, and the like. So eventually, because of that kind of jungle existence, we learned the art of responsibility, taking care of your property. Because when you go back home, your parents asked you, where are the shoes you left this place with? Or how come you have showed up with brown shoes, yet you left with black shoes? Can you show evidence that you bleached them or changed their color? And I realized that had it not been for my parents' personal decision to ship me off to that school that gave me that kind of boot camp engagement, perhaps I would not have turned out to be the kind of person that you, Sanny, are proud to invite for the live filming of your podcast. I would be somewhere blasting away drinking. And matter of fact, let me not say I am the best father that can ever be. No, I used to have my struggles in that field. I can't also say that I'm the best moral example to show, but at least I can say I am self-aware, and matter of fact, I may be clocking into 50, but you'll be surprised. In my heart and feel, I feel like I'm 20. I don't know whether that's a good thing or whether that's leading me to different places, but you're as old as you are. I hope I have made a contribution that is worth your time, Sanny. Sure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the last person that I would love to say something is a lady. Because I want to hear a viewpoint, because we are your brothers, we are your fathers, we are your sons, we are your husbands.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Julian Martha. Pastor Numa, I'm so glad to meet you again. We met for a short time earlier this year, talking boy child. I came here because I'm specifically interested in the boy child conversation. I founded a foundation called Julian Boys Foundation in 2016. I was still young, I was still in school. I started it because I almost lost my brother to suicide. We had lost my dad at an early age, who was still teenagers, and my brother is the last born. And he's the only brother we have at home, and all our relatives took care of us, took us to school, made sure we are okay, the girls. And I remember one of our relatives saying, "Em is a boy, he will figure life out." And my mom was depressed as a mother. She didn't know what to do with us. We were still young. One day, I'm called to school, and the school wanted to expel my brother. They had a list of issues that he had, and he feared to call mom because at that time she had pressure and diabetes. He called me. I get to school and the teachers are giving me a list of things he has been doing: drinking, drugs, not attending class, staying in the dormitory, and all. And my reaction as a big sister was to give him a very hot slap. And then teachers give us a private time to talk, and then I get to find out what is it really that, why are you not going to class? We are now like half orphans. We only have mom. She's sickly. Like, what are you doing with your life? And my brother said, the problem is that you also handle me like the rest, like the teachers. In fact, I was not planning to go home after this, like after I received the letter of expulsion. And then my brother was sick. His tummy was swollen. No one knew at school. He actually was planning to commit suicide because he knew that to go home will be worse than school. And me realizing that, I'm like, we almost lost the only man we are left with in the family. And his reason was no one understands him, no one listens to him, no one wants to know. In my head, I'm like, young boys. But when I dug deep, I realized that he was suffering with low self-esteem, lack of identity. Dad died before he became a teenager, so he didn't know much about being a man, being a whatever. Our uncles were literally very busy men. Like, he didn't have a father figure, anyone to look up to. And all he has is pressure. We expect him to be like daddy. He's the only man we left with. All relatives expect him to be like our dad, heir of this and that. You have to continue the lineage, and he doesn't even know what that means. When I walked a journey with my brother, he was sick. He couldn't go to the toilet. He was too sick, and he didn't want to become a burden to us. Only we realized we almost lost him. When I walked a journey with him, tried to understand him, listening to him, looking at life from his perspective, he actually felt heard, understood, and for the first time we became friends. And he started bringing me his friends. Every now and then he would tell me, "Remember my friend? He's now in rehab. Can we visit him?" And then he would tell his friends, "When my sister meets you, she will somehow talk to you and you'll be fine." So he would bombard me with his friends. And one thing led to another. Every holiday, I found myself talking to these young boys, teenagers, and going to rehabilitation centers to volunteer to talk to them. Some were young fathers that had denied children, and after talking to them, they realized, okay, I'm also continuing this. I'm becoming the father that I was, the father that raised me. Little by little, we started reconciling these young boys with their fathers, and with no experience teaching them what a man should be like, taking responsibility, being accountable, changing mindset and all, and praying with them. And that's where Julian Boys Foundation started. And that was way back in Uganda until I moved here. I like these conversations, and that's where, when I saw this on Instagram, that's why I came, because I like hearing. What about men? There's a question, Mr. Sanny, that you asked. What is the implication of neglecting the boy child? What does it have to on a national level? And as someone, Pastor Numa has been called to the boys of the elite. I think it's the opposite. I go to the streets, to Mugashinjiro. Yeah, that's where the boys that that are messing our societies come from. Boys as young as 7 doing drugs. They are sleeping next to a trench that is very, very dirty. And you ask them, who are you? Where are your parents? He says, my father is in prison. My mom drinks to sleep. Like those kind of families. And these are young men. And this is what I've realized. These young men, they don't know what life is. That's the life they know. But that does not stop them from being men. Even if they are 14, 15, but sleeping with girls and producing children. And I realized that when we don't take care of the boys, because by virtue of the fact that men carry seed for the next generation, the more these boys are not educated about, a 5-minute form of excitement can create a human being. And these boys do things for fun. Before you know it, they are producing more street kids and more. Like the cycle is continuing, and it's so sad to look at. And as a young woman, I don't have much experience, but I know that the need is huge. And the more we close our eyes to it, the bigger it becomes. And we may be like, my kids are well off, but it might be the person breaking into your house next day, the person, like any issue concerning the boy child should be a national issue, and it should concern everyone, male or female, young or old, because it's as urgent as life itself. Thank you so much.
That's an amazing way to end this conversation. Alain, merci beaucoup. Thank you very much, my brother. And that's a wrap for this week's episode. Thank you so much for sticking with us until the very end. I'd actually love to hear your thoughts on today's conversation. So drop a comment below and join the discussion. You can also join us on the social media of your choice. And if you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to share it with a friend and invite them to the conversation. I'll see you next time. Until then, take care. Thank you, Kigali Marriott Hotel, for providing a venue for the long-form podcast to record. At the heart of Kigali's hospitality, Kigali Marriott offers everything from luxury stays to premier event spaces, fine dining, and top-tier conference facilities.